Get in there.
All right, official podcast, fake podcast, take 2.
Yes, I ruined take 1, but
No, I meant this. Sorry, fix that.
oh,
Get it a little
trying.
so we can hear you. I meant it was
okay.
Actually, this is the second night. That's kind of what I was talking about.
Oops.
You also did ruin the first take.
Spoiler alert. We are back. We are so stoked about our fake podcast setup. And we even changed our background, which was a workout in itself. But we're rolling. We're ready. We're going to jump into it today. We're going to talk about what people have been struggling with. We've heard from a bunch of people on a bunch of different platforms that they're starting to be stressed, and some people are getting anxious and depressed, and that is totally not surprising.
You're right. So I don't think that's surprising at all. Seeing that a lot of people struggle with these things before, and having been cooped up for so long, I think the reality is setting in for people. And also something that I really want to touch on is the news, and the news is getting worse. To be honest, it shouldn't be really surprising based on, if you really want to look at the numbers of the epidemic or the pandemic and kind of the predictions that have been made. We're kind of getting, like, the seeds for this were sown a few weeks ago. Places like New York, it's awful for sure, but it kind of is what it is right now. And I think the one thing it made me think about were some of the stats around the news. So do you want to do this news and anxiety stats, or would you like me?
You can do the news and anxiety stats.
So I've heard these repeatedly, and I found myself, the quick backstory is, a lot of you guys know I worked at the Board of Trade in Chicago for 15 years, and I was surrounded by the TV 24-hour news cycle, multiple big screen TVs hovering over me all day, every day. And the first time it really hit me was on 9/11, watching the entire thing, every second unfold on a TV. And from every day on after that, it was big red letters, breaking news, the terror alerts, you guys remember all of those things. That's when the news really sunk into me. And since then, I've been a news addict for the most part for the last 15, 20 years almost now. So I feel this, and it made me look up some stats. So 50% of people polled by Time Magazine said the news bums them out. It causes them stress, anxiety, and depression. And the telling thing in this stat was this poll was taken in 2018. And so that kind of stuck out to me. Right now, there isn't positive news. Like, the positivity, I think, in our lives comes from our families and from, the people we see firsthand, not on our phones. And so I think that's a really important distinction to make, where we need to find our connection and what we need to turn away from. So I think one of the first things to happen is that we need to put our phones down. We need to turn off the news and step away. Because when we think about it, we know what the news is going to say. We know it's bad. And I think for the most parts, our routines, I know our routine around the house is set. We know we're practicing social distancing like it's our job. We're working on the gym and we're working on our kids. That's it. That's not changing. Nothing I see in the news is going to change that. And so for us, I think it's been, for me personally, I've tuned it out for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and just focused on the things that make me busy and better.
Well, it's funny. It's actually, I was just listening to this, and it's basically creating those boundaries. And I know I've struggled with depression and I've struggled with anxiety, and I had it for years and years. And that was one of the things that was really important to me. A step that I made was creating those boundaries when I was going to actually look at my phone, because I used to roll over at 4 a.m. and check my phone and see if there was anything going on. I would check it right before bed. Dave can attest to this. And it is shown that if you look at your phone right when you wake up and there is negative news, you're going to have a more glum outlook on life. And so I think creating those boundaries as to if you're going to look at the news, pick a trusted source and go with that and that only. I think,
Yeah, don't get sucked into the news either on social media, or if you go to a place like I've done in the past, like if you go to Google News or Facebook, if you click on a few days of incendiary or negative news, it doesn't matter the source, the algorithms will feed you that source over and over and over again. So you're basically getting, if you're in a rut with that, whatever your source is, your news or whatever, you're going to get more of it. You really need to be careful there.
No, and that's exactly it. You can click on it, not even thinking, but just like look at a headline and click on it. That's stuck with you. That algorithm is going to follow you. And a lot of people don't realize that, but all of a sudden your news feed is going to be filled with that. So pick a trusted source, maybe two at the very most, and pick a scientific, a very rock solid source, not an opinion piece. And go with that and be very careful during the times of the day that you're actually looking at that. Don't look at it right before you go to bed. You can get all of the meat and potatoes if you need it. If you can skip a day, even better. But it was the same thing. We did this in the first week of our Lean and Clean Challenge. It was decluttering your social media, because especially in this time when there is so much anxiety and there's so many unknowns, I'm totally fine unfollowing people that don't bring positivity to me, because I don't need any more negativity right now. I don't necessarily think they're bad people. I don't necessarily, think anything except for I'm creating these boundaries, and these boundaries are going to keep me feeling better, feeling positive, and being able to go through all this situation for however long this is going to go on for, in a better headspace. And that is the most important thing.
Yeah, to touch on that again, I think the same, just like going to bed with news is a bad idea. Waking up on your phone is terrible.
No bueno.
You want to approach your day proactively versus reactively. You want to set the tone. If you get right on your phone first, the tone is set for you. And again, right now, I challenge anyone to find a positive story at any point in the news. And the thing is, again, we have to remember, our friends and the people, fear is driving this whole thing. Some people are much more fearful than others, and that dictates behavior. We, at the end of the day, I believe, are all on the same team here. And I think I read a really great blog from somebody that's in New York at Ground Zero, and New York had 550 deaths yesterday. They're going to lose more people in New York City than 9/11. And the person was talking about, he was there for 9/11 and talked about how the vibe in the city is super divided and politicized right now, which I think, without, I guess, being apolitical, it's kind of stunning. I think I would just challenge everybody to remember, take a deep breath and remember why we're all here. Like everyone, at least in our community, the people are going to see this. And I know we have people from all over the spectrum. We care about our families. We care about our kids and our health and our businesses. Like, we're all the same people. So I think it's important for everybody to stick together and turn off the news together, if we can do that.
Wow, you just totally went on one tangent. I'm going to kind of bring it back a little bit.
That's how we work. That's how the new podcast works.
I'm going to bring it back a little bit. But one thing that I have also practiced, and again, I've gone to years of therapy. And I graduated. I used to go once a week. I used to go and then every 2 weeks. And now I've graduated to once a month. But I actually have an appointment, which I'm keeping through telehealth on Monday. But through therapy, one of the things that really stuck out when we're talking about these boundaries and we're talking about don't look at the news right away in the morning is, my therapist would always tell me, you just can't change the way you feel. You can't just wake up and say you see something. You can't change the way you feel. You have to work to do that. The things that you can change are your behavior. So you can physically not look at the news. That's changing a behavior, which will then in turn change the way you feel. Same thing like when you don't want to go exercise and you don't want to run and you're in a rut and you're feeling poorly, you can't just outthink yourself to not think poorly. That doesn't work. What you can do, you can actually change a behavior.
So you're saying if I'm following you, you're saying use a behavior as the trigger to change the feeling. Yes,
absolutely. So whether that is literally moving your phone to another room. If you need it for an alarm or something, then put it at the end of the bed where you can't wake up right away and look at it.
Phone box.
We have a phone box at the end of our bed that's for one of the reasons. But
when we walk into the bedroom, before showers and everything starts, the phone goes in the box.
So that's a behavior you can change. If you love your TV, make it really hard to turn it on. Literally hide your remote. So you get out of those habits, those behaviors are changed. So that's just a little tip. And it was really hard for me to understand that, but I think exercise is a great example too.
Yes.
You can exercise even if you're miserable. You can go out for a walk or a run or go lift weights even if you're in a bad mood.
The
That
paradox
helps
of
change your bad mood.
the whole thing is that when exercise is the furthest thing from your mind, especially right now, if you're feeling anxious, the last thing you want to do is get up and move and be active. That is exactly when you need it the most. So you have to really go into your head, not your gut feeling, which is anxious and uncomfortable. Use your brain to overrule everything and get your ass moving. It's gonna help.
Yeah, and that's where experience comes in, right? Like if you do it enough times, say you do move when you don't want to, and then you realize you do feel better. Even if you don't feel fabulous, you feel just a little bit better, a little bit less anxious, a little bit more positive outlook. Those experiences are what everyone draws all of their, predictions off of, is they know like, okay, I know that if I just move.
That's the veteran move. That's when everyone looks at us and like, oh, you must love to work out. No, there's days when I freaking hate to move. I do not want to move, but I know, because I've done it for, 20 years, that
More than that.
30. Sorry. I know what it does. So the more you do it, the more it reinforces the feeling and the habit, and it gets easier. So get moving. And obviously we can go through that science all day long, what movement does for your mood and your hormones and things.
And so many people are jumping on our lives or going for runs and getting out, going for walks, which is awesome. But the whole point of me talking about that is just to know that your behavior is what will end up changing that feeling, not your willpower to change a certain feeling. So put the news away. You can physically turn something off. Be careful. Go through, if you haven't done our week 1 of our Lean and Clean challenge, I would highly recommend going into our portal and looking at it. It's decluttering. The messages that we've gotten back just from people saying, oh, I unfollowed, 100 social media accounts and I feel so much better. Or, oh my gosh, I don't have all these crazy things coming at me. I feel so much more calm from just picking one news source. So I highly would recommend doing that, because it's not an uncommon feeling to be feeling anxious and to be feeling stressed and to be having any type of depressive feelings, because this whole thing's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. It just kind of sucks. Last thing, and then we'll tie it up with some fun news. Another really highly successful and intelligent person brought this point to me, which I love. This is one of the rare, if not one of the only times in our lifetime that you can reboot and reset everything in your life if you choose to. You can do it with your family, your routines, your business, your exercise, everything. And this is one of those times when you can make the switch to shut the news down, or you can make the switch to start moving your body 5 days a week, things like that. So just look at it as an opportunity. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and say this is the greatest time in the world, but there are glimpses and places and opportunities to really be positive, find great things. And there's times that, we can go forever.
Wait, okay, yes, and I know this is like fake podcast, and we're actually doing a fake podcast, so we're a little longer. It feels like
kind of a real podcast right now.
I know.
Yeah.
The last thing,
Uncle Cal would be proud.
I actually just listened to the Team USA women's soccer team. Their mental performance coach, I listened to her speak, and she was talking about stats on soccer players, and I'm not going to say when this was taken, and I'm not going to butcher it. I'll just give general, because I butcher
Disclaimer.
a lot of things. But she was saying that the stats on someone shooting a penalty kick when they thought it was a pressure situation versus thinking it was an opportunity to score, same situation, total different mindset. So that totally reminded me of that. But it's so true. And obviously the percentage of those who just looked at it straight as an opportunity to score, their percentage of those kicks going in was up dramatically. So like Dave said, I love
that. It's playing to win versus playing not to lose.
No, totally. So like Dave said, there are opportunities. And even for those people that are really slow because, their work is shut down and they're slower, there's opportunity there. For people who are crazy and all of a sudden this coming in has actually made you way busier, there's opportunity for us to find our refine our routines to make them more efficient. There's opportunities everywhere. We just have to find them.
Yeah, we're not going to sit here. It's funny. One of the funniest things I've seen on social media, this actually brings me joy because I laugh, is every person who's ever done a push-up telling you a new way to do a push-up at home, whether it's with soup cans or your dog on your back or crazy stuff. Everybody has decided that that's the only thing to do. Like, everyone has so much time. We're not going to say that. We understand that a lot of you may feel or be actually busier now than you were before, especially with kids around the house and being a teacher. We have a lot of teachers in the group. So if you do feel crowded schedule-wise, it's okay. Like, don't
there's opportunity there.
Yes, get the schedule locked down.
Yeah. Wow, that was kind of fun. Our nice little fake podcast.
Well, why don't we tie it up with something fun?
Like something coming up tomorrow, you mean?
Yes, for sure. So we're going to talk a little bit for 2 seconds about trivia night. We're back. Things in the category
trivia night, new and improved. That's the way I'm going.
Things I thought I would never do in my life. I've never done trivia night. It made me really uncomfortable. Never thought it would be fun, ever.
That's why he needs me, just for the record. That's why he needs me, because I love that stuff. You never know by my questions, but I really do.
It's never been fun for me. It's never been challenging. So it was just kind of a thing, it was an annoyance.
So we have trivia night again tomorrow. Please jump on. We would love to have
in the Zoom room.
The more people, the better. There can't be too many people. And especially with the way we run it, you type in your answers. And so trust me, the answers just come in like, I mean, you can barely see them. They're coming in so fast, but Dave and I are the only ones. We're the Trebeks on there. We're the only ones that can see the answers. So no one's giving anything away. So whether there's 5 people or 50, it doesn't matter. You just type in your answer anyway. So grab a drink. I'm cutting you off right now. Or a tea? Is that what you're going to say?
No, I was going to say order local dinner.
I haven't got there yet.
Let's go.
Grab a drink. And we're going to do local takeout. So we did Gasoline Alley, was our feature. Vaqueros and Cafe Arnone, because they do catering. But there's also a lot of people that are with us that actually don't live in Akron. We have a ton of our remote people, and we got some extra people jumping on for the lean and clean. So wherever you are, have a local takeout night. How about that?
All right. Also, trivia night is a really fun time to talk trash and be super crude and snide. The beauty of it is Lauren and I I'll speak for myself. I can't be offended. So a lot of times people didn't know the answer. They would just go after other people. Coach James took a beating. He didn't know it because we didn't let him see it. I took a beating, and there were just some really, really witty, smart, fun people. So it'll be great. And it's it's a great chance to take your mind off of the world.
Yeah. So we hope to see as many as you there as possible. I had a blast. I'm looking forward to doing it again. So local takeout and trivia night tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
And live Zoom workout, another one tomorrow.
Yep. And
Sunday. That's it. But we'll look for more podcasts. They probably won't always be fake. Give us feedback for real. We're learning this.